I think that an expert is essential in a case like this to explain to a jury the mindset of an officer and all the things that officer is going through in those critical seconds of an officer-involved shooting case.
Why do you think someone like Tim Ryle is so great to be that person to really explain that to a jury?
I think that Tim Ryle has 31 years of law enforcement experience, not only as an officer, but as a supervising officer and as an administrator. So he brings about that rare combination where he's seen things on the street as a supervisor and as an administrator. And that's critical for the jury to understand that he's so well-rounded.
The prosecutor went into some hypotheticals, quite a few hypotheticals. Do you think that was appropriate?
I think the hypotheticals were misleading, and I think it's especially misleading when you find out that everything that went into Daniel Willis's thinking is based on what we call the totality of the circumstances. All of Daniel Willis's feelings, all of Daniel Willis's experiences fed into his decision to shoot Yvette Smith.
And the prosecution seems to also want to go what everyone found out after the fact. Is that a fair element for the jury to consider, or is it everything beforehand?
It's not. And the legal standard and the way the jury will be instructed is they are to consider the facts as Daniel Willis knew them at the time he engaged Yvette Smith with deadly force.
And so that's where we talk about the perception of a possibility of a firearm coming into play?
Correct. It's what Daniel Willis's perception was. It is not whether there's an actual gun, it's whether he perceived there to be a gun and if his perception was reasonable. And all of the factors leading up to this, the intoxication, the fights over the hammers, the fights over the guns, the loading the guns, the lighting conditions, all of that factored into his mindset to use deadly force against Yvette.
Believing it was reasonable.
Believing he was immediately necessary to protect himself from deadly force.